Hi guys. Hopefully you have a way to watch this and listen to this with other stuff going on. I'm going to try to just get you enough information in order to use your time effectively, and I hope that you guys are able to see the possibilities of what you can do with this tool, something that you can bring in, have students do online with their phones or tablets or Chromebooks, or take them to the computer lab. Just to give you lots of opportunities to find out where they are and give them feedback on their ability to answer questions like found on the EOC. One of the benefits of this tool is just that there are so many different questions on each topic, so there are lots of ways to ask students about what you've been learning in class and just to find out what's going on in their heads. So this is a tool we get to play with this semester, and the next semester it will be much more robust, and we'll use it for probably pre-testing, so you know where your students are coming in, and for sure for our benchmark EOC preparation. So here's sort of what's going on. You're going to use the card to just get into the login screen for your USA Test Prep. Noticing the account is just Bears55, which is a Chrisman account. I will make sure that you all have your school level accounts as soon as I get them all. But for now, this is what we're using. Use the username and password on your card to log in. When you log in, it's just going to look like this. This is Jared Burns login. Jared Burns has an A+ or an A-. Alright, so he's pretty successful. So this is what your screen looks like. Now we can talk a whole lot more about getting the logistics in later. Today I really just want you to look at what the different options are on this resource, and then later on you'll notice this down here there's create a class, and then once you create a class you can add students to the class, and that can be done with either you creating an upload or giving the students a class code, which is the way they recommend. So that's not really that big a deal at all once you create classes. So there are things that are in here to learn. So we have this getting started section here, which sort of takes you to the site. But just I'll sort of point out just first that under this EOC tab at the top, there is the government tab, and I'm not sure why I did that. And in there, there are things that you can sort of see as far as what's available for students. Notice that you can assign a full test, which is a full practice EOC that divvies out the questions exactly with a percentage that the EOC does. That would give you 40 questions. You can also create smaller tests if you have less time during class. And then there's also practices that you can have students do. And so with a practice, this really gets us into some really interesting things. There are performance events here that you can have students do in class. You could even just project this in class and have students do it with you. There are short quizzes on the strand. In other activities, there's also games, which I haven't tried out yet, and videos. And actually, this all stuff can be assigned to students after they take an assessment and do poorly on it, and you can assign it to their account and require that they actually go through and do these things based on things that they missed when they were taking the test. But let's just say that we want to do more than that, and we're just going to go home, and we're just going to create a benchmark. So we'll just call this an assignment. And this is where it'll allow you to explore some other options and sort of see what kind of questions are available. So let's just call this test number 2. And so there are options there. For sure we want to make sure we pick the test bank that we're looking at for government class. This option would allow students to see the answers to the test afterwards and get some explanations as to why the correct answer is correct. This would allow students to see the test in Spanish if they want. This would randomize the questions, and this just keeps the answer choices at 4. I'm going to pick custom because that allows me to pick questions from the different strands of the test. And I'm not going to belabor this, so I'm just going to talk about allow you to see how you dig in, and then you can go in and look at any questions that you want. So I'm going to pick principles and processes, which is where sort of structures of government lies on our course level expectations. And so let's just see, I'll just click one of these to expand it. You'll notice that underneath this strand, which is this is our course level expectation, we have different questions that are all there, which are there to sort of test knowledge that could be found on an EOC underneath that standard. And so I have questions like a federal government is one which, and then we have some choices which one of those best fits that. The difference between presidential systems and parliamentary systems. Notice this one's Spanish. I could just toggle that and all of a sudden it's Spanish. So a student would be able to do the same thing. And if I don't like those questions, I can just load more questions and it'll keep going. And if I don't like that, I can load more questions. It'll just keep on going, and eventually it'll run out of questions. So that's about it. If I don't want to go with that, oh, that's not what I wanted to assess, go to Principles of Government. Now we have things that are other topics about structures of government. We have President vetoing a bill as an example of separation of powers or checks and balances. We have some items that do have some sort of stimulus material there. So I can just boom, boom, boom. I like these questions for the strand. I want to do some political parties in there, select some of those, and I can continue. I would encourage you to play with that and just sort of see what kind of questions are available for each of those strands, so you know and can see and compare them to what I have found and put in Acuity. Finally, we have of the ability to add performance tasks, which is pretty cool. We can have students do these tasks without creating a benchmark. We can assign them in other ways, but I really encourage you to look at these and to just see what's there, because this is going to match up to what we looked at already this morning. So under Principles of Constitutional Democracy, this is Strand 1, Part 1. There's a performance event for checks and balances. And so I'm just going to click it. And I can assign this to students, make it part of my test, and we might actually do this as part of our Acuity test next year. As for performance events, you can put 3 on a test. So this is really interesting. So we're going to match up this concept over here with this concept over here, and it will score this automatically. You don't have to worry about scoring it. This is the system of overlapping powers of judicial, executive, and legislative branches, allowing each to oversee each other. I'm going to just put checks and balances there. Okay, and a student would have to match those up, and when they're done, they would score it. There are a lot of other ones there. Some of them are not so good and are a little bit too detailed, and some of them are, you know, they're pretty darn good. Got a Venn diagram here. Federalists versus anti-federalists. So that's pretty good. So maybe I want to assign that one. You can add refer response questions, but you would have to score those in the system, and that will take longer. We may not want to do that. Ultimately, we have a test. It can be saved and then shared out to students, and again, we can get into that later. So what I want you to play with today are just what are the questions that are in USA Test Prep that are there, and then in this EOC practice thing, considering what strands that are there, what kind of resources are there, and how could you use that with your students this semester, from now until the end of April, when it's time to take that EOC, and what could you do with this in class? It is done and it is paid for, so the more we use it, the better off you guys are, and hopefully it's just one more tool to help you get some feedback from your students. So just play around, and I'd love to see your feedback later on.